Four Knights of the Apocalypse Chapter 97 is currently out, and I gotta say, this was probably the best chapter of the arc so far. We got some nice reveals, we're getting set up for more matchups, and honestly, some foreshadowings to what Percival might actually be, which I'll get into everything when we get into the chapter. But before all that, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It does help and it shows you guys like the Four Knights content on the channel. I've also been doing some shorts for Four Knights and some other anime and manga here and there. So if you guys want to check those out, go check those out. I think they're really cool. And yeah, let's just hit that intro and get right into the chapter. Chapter 97 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled Requiem Ever Ringing. So this chapter starts off not with what happened with Percival, but above the city of Walneck, as Gawain and Lancelot in his fairy form that we see in the Grudge of Edinburgh movie, which I'm glad we saw this now in the main series, especially since now that the first part of the Grudge of Edinburgh movie is out and viewable for everyone else. This is not really a spoiler or a big surprise, but I think this is actually a really cool reveal for the main series to see Lancelot actually use his fairy form. But basically Gawain and Lancelot go above the city and actually see the barrier that was placed around it. Gawain stating that, well, now that they're up here, it's plain as day. Walneck is completely encased in a dome of jamming magic. And even Lancelot, even now, even though they're outside, they can't really find the positions of everybody inside the city, despite them being outside. But Gawain says, I know you only realized it now, especially since we came out, but Lancelot says, yeah, she's got a point, as we then cut back to Tristan fighting Io, as he is continuously being beaten and thrown back and forth into the wall due to that bungee gum type ability that she has, as now she speaks, stating that, is this the end? Is this how it will be? Tristan, Knight of the Apocalypse, as Tristan keeps getting thrown into the wall, as then we see Tristan stop in the midair, actually using his goddess wings. And look, I know I kind of made a short on this, but yeah, Tristan's not weak. I kind of just did that for like clickbaity reasons. But yeah, Tristan immediately healed himself using his goddess powers, as he says, you told me something. At this town's festival were prayers that were offered to those lost in the Holy War in order to find peace, and that it was a wonderful custom. He then shines, fully healing himself, using his goddess power in both his eyes, as he then states that Io feels the exact same way. That's a wonderful tradition, saying that it wasn't just the humans, giants, fairies, and even the goddesses that were hurt during the Holy War 16 years ago. But demons just like Io were also victims of the Holy War as well. As we know from the Cursed by Light movie, the whole Holy War was just a big orchestration by the Demon King and the Supreme Deity, to be like an endless battle, which I'm planning to make a video talking about why this ended up being the case, or this might end up being a short, depending on what I come up with. But Io then charges at Tristan, as he then grabs the bungee gum thing and then pulls it out from the ground, ripping it, which he could have done to begin with. But after Io continuously tries to punch and kick him, Tristan then punches her in the gut, as she then crouches over in pain, as he just says, okay, enough of this, activating both of his eyes. So yeah, it seems that Tristan was actually just holding back, figuring out that things were kind of weird with her, so he let her hit him multiple times so we can figure out what was up with her. Io then tries to lunge at Tristan again, but then Tristan takes both of his swords and slashes her across the chest, dealing a powerful blow. Turns her arm ready to face her, but she then says, I'm going to kill all of you. That was my order for coming here. That human king you call Arthur. My companions were taken hostage. He told me if I tried to escape, then heads would roll right away. So now we're getting to why Io attacked and separated Tristan from everyone else. And I think this is probably the big divergence from the original future that Guinevere saw. As Tristan asks if the people whose heads are going to be taken were her comrades, but she says no, as we continuously get close-ups from the shadows of the silhouettes, as she just states the head that'll be lost is hers by her brainwashed companions. As we then get a full page, basically, of 5 separate demons. A giant Galen looking demon, which actually is a character from the Grand Cross mobile game, meaning maybe Grand Cross will end up having some canon characters and bosses appearing in this story, or having game exclusive stories reworked for 4 nights possibly, which is an interesting thing. But also all the different boss battles could actually end up being demons or something we could face in the main series. But yeah, one of them, it looks like Galland. Apparently he is Galland's nephew, so I wonder how he'll react when his mind is back together. And let's say he asks Percival what happened to Galland, and Percival's reminded of Galland, and he says,
blew it the f*** up.
So that'd be a funny interaction. But then Tristan's like, why didn't you tell me this sooner? But Io just says, it's not like I'm afraid to get killed by my friends. Even they will be killed by Arthur eventually. She's kind of having a defeatist mentality right now, stating that it's why she wanted to at least try, and wonder if the 4 Knights are weak enough that they needed to be killed by her, or if they did pose a threat to Arthur. She then stares at Tristan for a moment and asks, and yet you were so kind. You even tried to understand the feelings of us demons. Prince Tristan, I entrust everything to you. Please defeat Arthur. Now you see, this is a moment where people will think that Tristan is the main character. Honestly, I think 4 Knights is doing a good job of giving all 4 Knights moments that'll make them the main character, because moments like this is what happens to a main character of the story. Having an enemy that they fight who, under duress, basically entrust everything to them. I honestly think that is like a main character type moment. So having Tristan be given this, I think it's nice. And I think Lancelot's going to get moments like this, and even Gawain. And I think that's a good way to do this, since they are the title characters. So I think all 4 of them should have protagonist-like moments. Even though Percival is basically the main protag. But anyway, Tristan puts his swords away and says, I'm half demon myself. The Holy War is over now, so it's the time for all of us from different clans just come together and battle the forces of chaos. Once more, in this moment, Tristan is literally acting like a shonen protagonist here. As Io just says, my companions are very skilled. If I leave town, they won't just kill me, but all of you. But Tristan very jovially smiles and says, oh, then I'm sure it'll work out. As we then cut to the demons as they look over their shoulders up into the sky, with Lancelot and Gawain meeting all these demons in a full page, as Tristan just says, my own companions have skills of their own. So now, in this instance, Gawain and Lancelot are actually going to fight, and they're going to fight 5 demons. So that is going to be a cool thing to witness, and I'm excited to see Gawain fight without her buff form. So I feel like if there was a moment where she would access her buff form, this would be the moment, especially against that Galland looking guy. Tristan then tops this all off to build Io's confidence, saying that his friends are also Knights of Prophecy like him, right? So they can't be beaten so easily. We then cut back to Percival's group as Donnie and Naziennes are basically calling out to Percival's deceased body, as little mini Percivals are beginning to plop up, as Percival then gets the life back in his eyes, as he then gasps for air, being brought back to life. So I was wrong where I would think that Percival would be dead for at least 2 to 3 chapters until everybody would come together and their hope will revive him. Turns out just Naziennes and Donnie's hope for Percival just brings him back to life. Which I'm curious to see what the consequences would be for Percival just dying and coming back to life, and how many times he will die in this series. He is the Knight of Death, so I do think he's going to die a few more times, but I wonder how this is going to play out, because there's only so many times you can kill off a character and bring them back before it ends up becoming like a gag or no one takes it seriously. Honestly, Percival could end up being Kenny from South Park at this instance if he keeps dying and coming back to life in random ways. Anyway, back to the chapter. Naziennes and Donnie are very happy that Percival's alive again, and Donnie even boasts that he threw Macduff away. But then Chion just freaks out, saying, where on God's green earth do you find a human who can survive getting his neck snapped? And Percival just points to himself, and Chion just points out something that's very obvious, and I didn't really think about it. What kind of magic do you have? A caster dies, and the magic should basically vanish with them. And Donnie and Naziennes then remember. Last time Percival did get pierced to the heart, but his magic power didn't activate until after that. And Naziennes was positive that Percival was dead at that point. Percival then gets back up, and Naziennes going to say, what the hell? This doesn't explain anything at all. And Donnie just says, our friend's alive, just be happy about it. As then Sraknish, I can't pronounce her name, finds Percival's group with her army of lizards and bugs, stating that you did well to get away from Macduff, but now you're up against me. Which, comedically, honestly, it just feels nice to see Chion be scared right now, because he is terrified of bugs. And so is Donnie, apparently, well, also of lizards and snakes. But yeah, Naziennes can tell that she is dangerous and all the creatures that she has are dangerous. I mean, he is a poison expert. He is good with poisons and medicine, so he can most likely tell that everything that she has with her is poisonous, and that she's a Chaos Knight too. Percival is honestly kind of happy, saying that there are so many weird animals that he could see, and Donnie's freaking out. She then sicks all the lizards and insects towards them, with Donnie and Gian just grabbing a hold of each other, being too terrified to do anything, in like a Scooby-Doo pose. But then all of a sudden, all the animals and insects stop right in front of them, much to Strategic, I can't pronounce her name, much to the Chaos Assassin's shock. Why did they just freeze in place? As then Percival just picks up a giant spider and says, "See? It's not that scary," as he holds it up to Donnie and Gianna as they freak out. The Chaos Assassin continues to try and give orders to her summoned creatures, but Nazians takes the opportunity, uses his enchanted belladonna to slash the enemy with some of his poison, knocking her out, making her numb. As she's wondering, why did my orders not work? Percival then runs up to Nazian, saying that what he did was really cool. But then a mini Percival pops off of Percival and goes in front of the Chaos Assassin. As we established in Leonis, these things have a mind of their own. As this then talks to her, saying, "They're smarter than humans. The reason they ignored your orders is simple. They wanted to live." With the chapter ending, and the next chapter being called Impending Death. So this is very foreboding in many ways. So Percival comes back to life, obviously, from hope, but was it truly just hope? Because remember, Gian said something very interesting. Magic power is supposed to dissipate and not activate and disappear when the caster dies, but Percival's is still active even when he dies. Now this is most likely due to the fact that he is the Knight of Death. It could also be because his power is hope, but he is the Knight of Death, so you'd assume some of his abilities would have to do with death in some way. And it's easy for him to be revived, and we don't even know if he could revive other people who have died either. So for all we know, it just applies to himself. And as every single time Percival's power has grown, his mini Percivals have gotten stronger and now have sentience. So they must know the truth, or at least an inkling of what Percival's power actually is. So when Percival has his power activated, especially after he's been brought back from the dead, it's very possible he has some sort of aura that could just give animals or anyone that is tuned with wanting to preserve their own life a sense of not wanting to die. And this could imply that Percival can do some instant kill moves or something. But this whole Percival thing is something that could be a video in and of itself, and I just touched the surface of what I think could happen. We also got the demons that are being brainwashed by Arthur to force Io to try and assassinate one of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, as well as basically insurance to take out the Four Knights before they can do anything, alongside the assassins he already sent. So this is most likely the big change that we saw with Guinevere's vision. She only stated 2 assassins, and Lancelot would be the one that picked them off, and he was the one to go to the room. But since Arthur knew about this, chances are he brainwashed some demons that he had lying around, because he probably had them in prison to be, Merlin doubles for whatever he uses them for, and decided to send them over as insurance to change things. Not to mention, due to this change, Tristan ended up going into the other room because of the barrier that Io placed over the town, which by doing so messed with Lancelot's ability to read minds, and thus led to him losing rock, paper, scissors. So already the future is being changed, but what effects this will have is still yet to be determined. I'm excited to see Lancelot fighting in his fairy form right now, and I'm excited to see Gawain fight in her current base form, I assume, in her wizard form. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next and how she fights in this state, and how these other demons are going to be like. Not to mention the fact that one of them in particular is a demon from the Grand Cross mobile game. I'm honestly slowly playing the game here and there. It's not the greatest game in the world, but I wanted to see the Ragnarok storyline that was original for the app. And I might make a video on that if I ever complete it or get up to date with it. But this can mean characters or even storylines from the games could be weaved into the Fortnite story. Maybe the 7 catastrophes could end up being antagonists or an extra group in this story, for all we know. I only know a little bit about the catastrophes because they're game exclusive characters, But this excites me a lot, and I honestly cannot wait to see what happens next. But what did you guys think of the chapter? What did you think of the reveal that Tristan not only had control of the situation the entire time, but the fact that Io was basically being threatened to do all this and the reveal of all these demons? Are excited to see Lancelot and Gawain fight together against these demons. What do you think is up with Percival's, hidden power and the ability of death that he has? And what else do you think is going to change with the future? Also, something that just reminded me, since Macduff was thrown away and one of the Chaos Knights was dispatched by Nazians and Percival basically scaring her summoned creatures, Macduff is probably going to show up to Isolde, An, and Jade before they can make it to Nazians. So I'm curious to see, because that seems to be their matchup now. But anyway, leave your thoughts and opinions down below with your thoughts, opinions, and theories for what's going to happen next. And once more, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It does help and it shows you guys like the content I make on this channel. I might make some videos on Grand Cross, because I do want to see what happens with the Ragnarok game, as well as the 7 catastrophes and all the other game exclusive stuff, to see if those can be brought into the main story. But with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.